When was the last time someone said I love you to you? I honestly don't remember. I'm single and my relationship with my mother is awful, so maybe many years ago. Less than 5 minutes ago. Growing up in a stoic household, I vowed that a day wouldn't go by without saying I love you to my kids. Those words get passed around a lot in our house. My kids are still too young to understand what they mean, but they know their parents like to hear it, so they say it a lot. You sir/madam are a good person going through a hard time with school, RN. Grades are closing, and mental health got in the way of finishing assignments, and hearing my parents let me know despite the CF I'm going through RN it'll be okay is really nice. Same. Online learning is so tough I don't even have the will to live. My parents supporting me with helping me create a planner for myself is really useful. 2 minimums ago, my kiddo is cuddling with me under an electric blanket while watching Cocomelon. She said, "Daddy, I love you," and then went to sleep. My daughters love Cocomelon. Fine at first. Then the songs started playing in my head at work. I always say I love you and typically hear it back to my parents and brother before going to sleep or leaving to do something. Even, maybe especially, when there's been a fight or disagreement. If something happens to them or me, I don't want them to have any doubt that I love them. As for outside of my family, my crush said so once. It's a long story. I once read a story of an elderly gentleman's biggest regret being that he forgot to tell his wife I love you the night she died in her sleep. Ever since, I try to make sure it's one of the last 3 things I say to my partner each night. 1. I love you. 2. Good night. 3. Come get me if you need me. Close bracket. I recently just saw my best friend after not seeing them for months due to COVID, and they looked at me and went, "Gosh, look how beautiful you are. I love you so much." It made me feel so loved and calm. Well, I have been divorced for 10 years, so about 15 years ago. I hear and say it daily. Very fortunate in that respect. My husband, kids, friends. I rarely heard it growing up with my mom and dad. So I make sure to say it every chance I get so no one doubts how I feel about them. We talk all the time about what we hate and dislike, but never throw love and kindness around like confetti. I think the one that is going to mean the most for a while was at about 10:30 AM today. My grandmother, who raised me, is about 16 hours away, dying, in a hospital. The staff was kind to allow my uncle in to see her, pulled some crazy strings, and made some excuse about needing power paperwork, so he could say goodbye, and he snuck his phone in to call me, so I could say goodbye too. That lady helped make me into the woman I'm today. I told her I love her, and that I'm sorry I can't be there. She told me she loved me too, and that she always will. She's been fading in and out of consciousness since. She's going to be gone soon. But to hear that, even in her weakened state, means the world to me. I've got a few lasts. My half-sister, a week ago. My mom, who passed away last year. 3 years ago. My ex-GF, more than 3 years ago. I have the best friends in the world. We tell each other that all the time. I think my best friend was trying to tell me that she loved me, but she was drunk texting, and I got I love you. I'm going to count it. 2 seconds ago. My husband and I say this to each other every night before we go to sleep and whenever one of us leaves the house. Close bracket. My husband and I do this too. Every night before we sleep and in the morning when he leaves to go to work. Then on his lunch break, right before we hang up, after he calls me. You never know what will happen in life. So we take opportunities to tell each other. It is a good feeling to hear the person you love tell you that they love you. Absolutely. You never know when it could be your last words to one another. My daughter died when she was 38 years old, and the last words we ever said to each other was I love you. I'll treasure that for the rest of my life. And the same with my sister before she did. It is a comfort to know those were the last words. My husband and I do the same thing. And you are so right. It's a good feeling to hear those words from the one you love. Close bracket. This afternoon, I had an hours-long conversation with a good mate about his upcoming divorce. It was a sad conversation. He ended it with, "I love you." I responded, "Happy year times ahead." I love you too, mate. I'm pretty sure it was just a few minutes ago when the stray cat that I rescued started screaming when she couldn't find me. She found me almost a year ago. She was a stray that had been abused in her previous home. She weighed 6 pounds and she was pregnant. Now, she is happy, healthy, spayed, and one of the most loving animals I have ever known. My fiance fell asleep a bit ago. I was rubbing his beard and singing him to sleep. He sorta woke up, got a big dorky grin, and said I love you, more like I flew you, then fell back asleep. I've got a great big nerdy dork of a fiance I love more than anything. This morning after I fed my dog her usual for breakfast and she licked the bowl clean and looked up at me with her huge brown eyes and smiled. Humans? My husband last night when I went to bed. My hermit crab came out of its shell to walk on my hand a minute ago, then nuzzled up next to my thumb. Probably since when my mom left us for her other family a decade ago. My dad grew up in a third world country where they don't even celebrate birthdays, so he has never said it in his life. I think it was last night when a friend, 18F, of mine, 20 meters, texted me for emotional support. Now to back it up with context, she's someone I know from 2 places. We went to the same school for 1 year and I have a mutual friend with her boyfriend. She kinda wanted to get to know me cause I seemed like an interesting person, or she said so, but it wasn't until around a year and a few months ago. I was already in college when she found a good enough reason for to do it. We then started to send memes to each other, and then it evolved into the really cordial and heartfelt kind of friendship where we talk about literally anything ranging from the most boring and mundane stuff such as school or daily chores through politics, religion, music, art, architecture, etc. to the bit weirder side of things like our dark sides or our sexual desires and preferences. The most important thing is that there is nothing romantic about it, and there's no sexual tension between us, and there never was. Which, despite us both being the sort of people who get attracted to the opposite sex, I feel as free or even more than with any guy I've met so far. It's not always the case with friendships with other girls. Anyway, I probably met my best friend and yesterday was when she expressed that very sentiment. It's precious. About 2 hours ago, my husband said it to me as I went to take a nap. I just woke up. Just a few hours ago. Granted it was whimsical and on this site, but I'll take what I can get. 15 minutes ago. My wife is on the couch playing Assassin's Creed while I do some late night work. Just popped over to give her a hug and kiss and tell her I love her. It was reciprocated. The guy I've been dating for several months said it the first time to me as he broke it off. From my best friend earlier tonight, she is my favorite person and an absolute light. To all of you who haven't heard it in a while, I love you! Exclamation mark. Hugs. A couple hours ago, my wife before she went to bed. I'm a night hawk. Always go to bed later. I have made a habit over the last 26 years that when I go to bed, I tell her I good night. She's beautiful and I love her. Some nights she's awake and responds. Most she isn't. I don't ever not say it. I get love you night from my parents, but I don't remember the last time I ever got a genuine I love you. Nobody did for so many years. But I think my Mexican chihuahua said that to me the other day, or maybe I was just too drunk. Honestly cannot remember, nor can I remember if I have been told that. No, my life is not that ducking depressing, I just have bad memory. 2 hours ago, when I met my wife for lunch on our break. Then 2 minutes ago, when she called, when I started typing this. It really brought me down seeing people who said they couldn't remember the last time. Even my 14 years old son tells me he loves me before going to bed most nights. Brings some credit to humanity to see people like you/s_Martians sharing the love. 03. About 10 minutes ago, it was my cat who said it. When he says it, though, it sounds more like meowww, but I'm able to translate okay. Also, he had those droopy I wanna be in your lap eyes. So I feel strongly that I translated accurately. My grown son say it to me a few times a week when we talk. Other than family, No. Edit. Actually, while going through a rough emotional patch this morning, a friend called, and when she hung up she said I love you. Known her 12 years and that's the first time she has said it to me. 2 days ago my best friend told me he loved me. I tried my hardest to let him down easily. After that we still talked and laughed together while continuously told him how sorry I was. We are cool now though. So my friend recently went through a bad divorce. She had some serious depression. I did my best to support her. Every day I saw her I kept telling her she is appreciated and loved by all her friends. This is not the most recent, but having someone understand that if something happens to them the rest of us would be devastated is important. I think it was. Actually I don't remember when, but whatever, you really only got your own back at the end of the day. About 13 years ago, my one that got away got in contact with me and asked about my life. I had just started a goal I had spoken about for years, and when I told them about it they said, I really love you. You know, you are doing amazing, and I'm so happy for you that you're pursuing your dream. Apostrophe. It wasn't the last time someone said it, but it was the last time someone said it that it felt like true love, given freely and without expectation. I've heard it since then, but it never felt quite as genuine as that moment. Christmas Eve 2017. I had been chatting with a guy for a month or two. He asks me, do you love me? I say I'll know anyone who says yes is crazy or lying. He says, well, I love you. Me. So which one are you? Him. Crazy. Hint, he was lying. And drunk. Close bracket. Probably one of my parents saying it. After I went to visit them. I live alone and have never really had a relationship anyway. My girlfriend before she left me for my kindergarten best friend who I was reunited with that morning, having no idea that they had known each other for a while. Yesterday, with a good night, and yeah I liked it, but I don't know, I feel it's said too often now that I'm skeptical of believing it, but at least someone says it so it's okay. Growing up I never heard those words. So as I got older I made my own family and still always tell my friends how much I love them. After I had a kiddo I was sure I'd never let him go, thinking he may never be loved like I did. These days I hear it an awful lot, because I worked for it to be that way and am quite happy about that. Love you all. Outside of my own family, I don't think anybody has. I have had compliments a long time ago, but that's about it. I'm 29 and honestly can't remember the last time someone said that word to me. I mean, it's not something people should say lightly. It's a word that has a lot of meaning and emotion behind it. Hopefully the right person says it to me, or if I get the courage I'll say it one day to someone who I care about when I meet that person. The world can feel small sometimes, but in reality it's also a huge place. I always get told there's someone out there for everyone. Hopefully I just meet the right person before it feels too late, and then everything should be fine from there. Very true. That it isn't something to be taken lightly. Some words lose their meaning as they are overused, love included. As a fellow human being, I love you and hope things work out for you. I may not know you, but life is too short and we can learn from each other. We don't have to agree with those whom we love, but I can say that I can make it more genuine. If it takes time to find someone, platonic or not, to love, it will make that much sweeter when it comes to be. That's what causes it to lose its meaning, when people say it for the sake of it. With me, if I tell someone I love them, then I definitely do love them. Personally, I'd find it very hard to tell someone that I love them if I never meant it, and it would not be nice to make someone doubt if the person saying it really means it. And it's good that you say that. You mean well, but I'm not sure if I'm even worthy of it. I don't think I even love myself anymore. I guess when I'm feeling better, hopefully everything will fall into place. But inside I feel under so much pressure as I keep thinking about my age now and how short life can be, and I want to enjoy it, you know. I might look young in the face, but I'm getting on, and I don't have much to show for it. And of course in the end, if I do find the right woman for me, then all of this waiting for the right person would have been worth it, and it will be the best moment of my life. It's the ideal future and I'm happy for the couples out there, but it's not so nice after a while when things in life don't exactly go how you imagined it. Think it'll give life a few more years. It's just hard staying or putting on a face of being positive all of the time for people. Life's not as simple as I once used to think. I feel like I'm on a sinking ship trying to repair the ship and stop it from sinking right now, wondering how I ended up here. Oh well, hopefully, like you say, there a new horizon ahead if I'm trying to stay positive for that little bit longer. I called me out this morning to tell her how my 2-day date was going, and before we get off the phone, an I love you is required. Talking with my best friend today, we were about to have a national-wide exam, which would define our lives for the whole year. Hearing her say that, and that she wanted a hug to calm down as much as I did, gave me the strength to absolutely rock the math part. Sad I didn't do well in chemistry and physics, but whatever. Last night, they also said you're my world, and both statements were weird given how little I know this person. My dad this morning. I moved away a little over a month ago, and we don't talk very much, but he'll randomly call me to ask me to order something for him online or to help him find a phone number for a business. Today he needed atomizers and candied jalapenos, and asked if my friend with a shattered arm bone had learned to actually ride a bike yet. He's always been a dependable, if not somewhat distant parent, but I appreciate and love him all the same. A few hours ago when my husband and I were talking about playlists, and I told him my favorite one that I've created is R&B Bump and Grind. He paused for a while and just said I love you. He then let me play my favorite sexy R&B songs from the 90s. Means a lot that a man can love me despite my terrible playlist names. I never heard it once in 58 years from my family and more than 20 plus years ago from an ex-partner. I have no one else. I don't know who you are and never will, but it'd take a bullet for you. We're just fellow humans in this together. Hearts beating in the same world. Sleeping under the same stars. Love you. Stay safe in this wild world. This is going to sound so corny, but my mom. I was having a really bad day the other day. Just fed up with a whole bunch of crap going on, including moving back home for a new job, only to lose that job because of the pandemic. She hugged me and told me she loves me so much, and it was everything I needed to hear at that moment. About a year ago, a friend of mine said it, so I was all, okay cool, well, see ya. And then my mate and I joked about how nobody in their right mind would love either of us. Right before my boyfriend went to bed a couple hours ago, and my dog didn't say it, but his cuddles did. 28 years old and honestly don't know if anyone has, and if anyone has, it doesn't stand out in my memory. The last time I read those words was when my father sent them to me. He and I are not on speaking terms, and I refuse to believe those words are genuine. My grandma was really nice. She's not here anymore, thank God. Cause this world is hell. She's in a better place. But I'm not that good in studies. Different situation now. But when everyone called me a failure, she said, "He's gonna do better than all of you combined." And every time I'm depressed I just remember that thing and I go back to working as hard. Around 9 hours ago, I still think it's weird to say I love you to a person because my parents never said it growing up. I was taught actions mattered more than words. When I'm playing with my wife and she won the match at this moment I told love you, and reflection of it, she rewards love you too. Depends on the context. The last time I had and so say that to me was 3 years ago, and I would really like to hear that again from someone that I could actually share my life with. From a family member. Just earlier today actually in a phone call. Checking up on my grandfather. Although, I miss more than words can tell the sound of my grandmother saying it. Like 10 minutes ago. I'm going to bed. As soon as I get off this app. My BF went downstairs to play a game for a little bit. Had to spend a few minutes saying goodnight to each other. Including multiple I love yous. I don't remember. Maybe my mom told it to me when I was 6 or 7. Maybe my brother said it when I was in 2nd grade crying over F. Anyway, I'm 18 now. Recently had surgery, and as I was coming out of the anesthesia I started texting people who thought it was a good idea to give me my phone. And I texted my roommate, among other things, "You know I love you." We both know it's meant non-romantically, and he replied with "I know. I love you too," and it was really sweet. We are both a bit weird about it when fully sober, but we get quite emotional with each other when we are under any influences, and I really cherish it when it comes out. It's been years. I think it's the byproduct of being the first child and my parents not knowing how to raise kids. My parents. A few hours ago. Friends. Yesterday. From some romantic interest? Like 3 years maybe? I'm so lonely in that way right now, and trying to find a balance of loving myself and becoming someone that somebody wants, and being okay being single for the rest of my life. Oh man. In general, or when I know someone actually means it, in general. 6 hours ago, it's 1:30 am, someone meant it. Wait, when? I know I'm loved by certain people. Those words are just never said, because we know that we love each other and don't have to remind ourselves. Yesterday evening when I saw my father, the last time I heard it from someone that wasn't a relative was a little over a month ago, I think, from my mate's fiance when they dropped me off at the train station. Maybe 4 hours ago, when I'm in the kitchen, I kinda just always do a wiggle dance while I wait for things to cook. My boyfriend finds it hilarious. He started doing it and he just looked up from his computer, shook his head and said, "I love you," and laughed to himself. My husband and I agreed when we got married we would never go to bed angry with the other. He passed 20 years ago on our anniversary. The last words we spoke to each other was "I love you." Our kids to this day end every call or text with "I love you," because one never knows if that will be the last words their loved one will hear. A few hours ago. It's not extremely often, like every few minutes, but I hear and say numerous times throughout the day. An everyday thing as well. My dad is pretty affectionate, so him alone would probably still be many times a day. Last night, I always say goodnight to my parents and it's always followed by "I love you," and then they respond with "I love you too." They rarely say it without me saying it first. My best friend is struggling in lockdown, feeling overwhelmed and worrying that the photography she creates will never amount to anything. A completely valid emotion I've felt too many times as an artist myself. I happen to think her work is stunning, and we both know she has the talent and willpower to make a living from it. I passed compliment on her work and on her as a person. She felt encouraged, thanked me and said "I love you. You're one in a million, and I treasure our friendship." Apostrophe. Honestly, though, I couldn't be more invested in someone than I'm in her. Probably 2 days ago, my husband and I say it to each other almost every time one of us is leaving the house. We were both off this weekend, so we mostly stayed home, but most of the time, whenever we leave the house, we kiss, hug, and say "I love you." It's something we've pretty much always done, going back to when we were dating and not living together. If we were parting after a date, we'd kiss and say "I love you." If we were texting and saying goodnight, the last thing we said was "I love you." At this point, it's not something that needs to be said. We've been together for almost 10 years, happily married for almost 6, and I'm of the opinion that love is something that is better expressed through acts, not words, but it's reassuring to hear. 20 minutes ago from a casual friend. My best friend killed himself 6 hours after I last saw him. Since then I try to tell my friends I love them often, and they started saying it back. Last Tuesday when I rang my uncle up to say happy birthday to him, my auntie said it to me as she always does every time I ring, or she rings me. I say it back as well. Like 3 hours ago, my mom. It's midnight and it was a good night. Love you if family isn't included then. Oh boy. Never? Oh wait. My best friend, who I call my sister, said it 2 days ago when I saw her. But no girl, other than my BFF, has ever said "I love you" to me. Fun. Can I just say, I was expecting to see the answer to when was the most recent time someone said "I love you" to you? So I was not at all mentally prepared to read all these answers to when was the time someone said "I love you" for the final time to you? Depends. In a romantic way, honestly, never. From friends and family, it's been a while. Not that I don't feel loved by them, but we hardly ever say it out loud. I guess it was my parents when I went to visit on Christmas. It's appreciated, don't get me wrong, but I miss hearing it from a person who isn't obligated to love me. I have never been told those words and I think I'm fine with that. It makes me uncomfortable to even think about someone telling me that. It feels taboo and wrong. IDK. My pops. Only man to say I love you back without fail. He is my hero and rock, and shall be forever. Perhaps an hour ago, right after we ducked, she told me she loved me, and fell asleep. Over a decade together now. This morning, my wife and I say it multiple times a day. I think it started out as a conscious effort, but after all these years it's just how we are. At work, on Friday, talking to a colleague. She's a friend too who met me during said employment. We are peers in our roles, but have separate companies we work for. It's a more personal relationship than a work-based relationship. I've gone and stayed at her house on holiday and she's one of my next to kin contacts if something happens. We work in roles that require at least 10 hours a week in a professional relationship. We'll ring each other almost daily for work-related calls, and in weekends for personal. 6 years into the role and working together, I'd say it's definitely a great love affair of a beautiful relationship. She's 20 years my senior too and neither of our partners are jealous. Just two ladies who've bonded over our working relationship. I love that chick. My grandparents don't speak English to me, so I can't remember the last time someone said that to me. I honestly don't know. My boyfriend and I say it to each other every day. We say it before we go to sleep, when one of us leaves the apartment. Just for funsters. We've been together for almost 15 years. I can't even remember that. Past 10 years was too hard for me and I'm alone. Just me. No one wants me, even parents. I think it is what it is. Probably my dad, when I talked to him on the phone a month or two ago lol, but in person, probably a year or two ago I was dating this girl that kinda fell for me, but I just couldn't bring myself to feel the same way about her. I haven't said that myself to another person, face to face in like 7 years. It's just not as easy to say that these days as it used to be. I got pretty jaded over time lol. I always end calls with my parents and brother by telling them I love them, so it's a daily thing. Outside family though, I don't think it's ever really been said. Like my closest friends are a bit more stoic I guess, so they don't reciprocate. Kinda gave up on saying it, but they know how I feel. My girlfriend told me before I left for work. I always let her know when I'm leaving for work, and she tells me to drive safe and reminds me she loves me. March 23rd 2019 I think. She said she wanted to break up on 24th, and we did on 29th. Still haven't moved on from it. It was my first, and wished it was my last. My mum is very particular about it, so I hear it often, since we talk a lot over the phone recently. Apart from my mum, that's hard. My first, and only, girlfriend specifically disallowed the phrase, because it was too big for what we had, so she definitely doesn't count. Last week, my mother drove up north to see me in Northern California with the last bits of my stuff that was left in my parents' storage unit after my father died last month. We exchanged I love yous just before she left. When my friend was going home, and I was sending her off, first time I heard that phrase directed at me was from her too. I don't really remember. I keep things to myself and just put on a happy face, so maybe my parents that I'm a happy kid and I'm fine and I don't need to hear it yada yada yada. TBH. It's been a while. Never heard it from someone outside my family, but even my family doesn't say that a lot, so I honestly don't remember the last time. My boyfriend, who decided after 3 weeks of dating that he wasn't ready to be in a relationship. That happened 9 days ago. I'm pretty heartbroken NGL, because we met IRL, and I've been waiting for someone like him for years. My friend group has normalized saying I love you, I'm proud of you, and such, so we say it pretty much every time we hang out or talk. It makes me feel really good. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.